Alright, a bit of a busy weekend, don't really got a lot of time here, and seeing how my plan for my channel here is to flip-flop between the Snowpiercer and the Super Cruise Ship. Seeing as how the weekend before last, I last detailed the cruise ship and updated on that. I don't even think I got a video out last weekend, so this weekend now it's the Snowpiercer's turn. So, as I've been kind of flopping back and forth between the ship and the train, I haven't really been able to put as much detail towards one given project, seeing as I'm having to share between the two. So as it stands with the Snowpiercer project, I haven't gotten any new cars, although I have updated the engine. Now, real quick, I just brought this a little piece of it outside of the locomotive so you can kind of get a better look at it, because inside the engine, or the actual train, you can't really see it all that well. And I found some conceptual art done online about what somebody envisioned like the whole Perpetual engine to look like, and they kind of had it in like the cylindrical shape with these arched pillars that kind of curve around the engine, and these things would consistently be rotating very slowly with a bunch of internal gears and stuff like rotating the opposite direction. So I just kind of put that together to kind of make it look like something like a Perpetual engine. Up front, just kind of more like an electrical bit, and towards the back, I was kind of using these to make it look like battery banks or something like that, or kind of like primary battery banks. Now, the layout of the back of the engine is a little different compared to inside the actual locomotive itself, but let's go ahead and take a look. Well, shit. I was re-looking at some of the concept art of the I don't know, the rendering that somebody made up for the Snowpiercer train to kind of get inspiration for my design, being like the whole gray and gold. And I originally had a little access compartment or hatch right here in the middle, but I think I might have to cover that off and block it, but kind of keep that whole split archway there and bring the access hatch more towards the rear here, because I don't quite there's always a cave sound that always goes off every time I go inside this damn thing, I swear. But I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do the entirety of the back half of the layout here. But stepping forward inside the train, you can clearly see that it's a lot more different compared to what it originally looked like beforehand, seeing as how I had what kind of looked more like standard diesel engines on either side here, but there was a big Perpetual unit way up front. But now, stretching it all the way back here towards the back, you can kind of see the battery banks that I got set up here for what I'd like to call battery banks. And then kind of right here is the rear portion of the engine. Now, I was going to try to like make some plumbing or wiring harnesses or something that kind of stretched along the ceiling here, but I don't quite got it figured out how I want to do that yet. So at least this part of the Perpetual engine itself kind of looks more resemblant to the Snowpiercer movie, because you have like the little light here in the center and the cylindrical shape. But you can't walk inside of it, and I still need to do a little bit more work along the edge here, because I have the engine tucked down into the chassis of the locomotive. And basically the rear portion of the engine is not quite done yet. The whole cylindrical piece, like I copied and pasted it outside of the train so you could see what it looks like better. Now, there's probably going to be some guardrails and some like control consoles and stuff like that. I still need to close off this hatchway here. And for the most part, the engine as it stands is almost basically done. I still got to do some detail work here and there. Then you kind of got like the master drive cylinder, whatever the hell you want to call it. This would kind of be like what, I don't know, drives the engine, and then drives the actual locomotive wheels or something like that. And then all the stuff back there would kind of be providing power to the rest of the train, or so I think. Because seeing as how I'm building my train to kind of have more of an interior Snowpiercer train from the series, we don't ever actually get to see what the actual legitimate engine itself looks like. So now, coming up in here, this is like the very nose of the train where we're kind of sitting inside the plow. The control deck is kind of like directly above us at this point. And kind of going back to my older renditions of the engine bay, I was going to say like there was like a water compartment or a water filtration unit sitting up here. Seeing as how it has like these little intake inlets that ingest snow and ice as it breaks through it, and it kind of pumps it into this machine that warms it, melts it into water. It gets pumped through the engine, like the actual Perpetual engine itself, to kind of keep it cool, I would think, and also it helps to filter the water so it can be used further down train. Other than that, that's basically all I've got for the engine as it stands right now. So I don't know. The future plans, I'll probably end up continuing working on the engine compartment before I move on to another car, seeing as how I have to flop between the train and my cruise ship project. But I was kind of thinking to myself, seeing as how in the Snowpiercer series, how they say Wilford had himself locked away inside the engine, you know, whenever they believed he was still alive, or so on and so forth. I kind of got the initial thought that perhaps maybe the engine bay itself probably had like a luxurious like living accommodation somewhere for Mr. Wilford himself, seeing as how he basically would be living alongside his engine like it's like the most sacred thing he ever built, which respectively that's how it goes. But so I'm probably going to be reworking this entire back half, because originally I had this set up as being like a mechanics, like a spare parts shack or something like that. And then I originally had a stairwell that went up to the upper level, but I still don't know where I'm going to actually have access to the engine room compared to the upper level that has the engineering cabins and control deck up front. But I still have this whole secondary car back here that's completely empty, and originally I was going to, well, maybe it might still be, I was going to put it down as being like a secondary machine room, where there'd be kind of something that looks like another Perpetual engine parked back here, but it look a little bit different, and also it'd be tucked away in the bottom half, and the upper half will have something different, a different level or something like that, but still not quite sure. Like, I was kind of thinking about maybe making this whole car down here, maybe like Wilford's car, just on the sub-level here, and then he has like direct access to the engine. But seeing as how big the actual locomotive in this next car would be, that kind of seems like a bit too much space between Wilford's living area and the actual engine in case something were to go critically wrong in a split second. I don't know. I guess I'm probably just going to have to use my imagination to just kind of make this up about how it all goes down, because I guess that's just kind of like the charm that at least makes this train a little bit more custom compared to like making it like a direct replica from the series version of the train. Even though my locomotive looks completely different, the rest of it's still fundamentally the same, except for the color scheme as well. So as it stands, is basically the most that I've done to the Snowpiercer here thus far is basically making a completely updated, more accurate-looking Perpetual engine for the actual train. So that way the actual engine compartment itself can be explorable whenever I get this, you know, train project done to the point where I might turn it into a map, or, yeah, upload it as a downloadable map. So yeah, it's a little bit more brief, a little bit more shorter, probably not as much work as some people were hoping that I had done to the train, but hey, I'm working 6 days a week now, so I don't get Saturdays, and most Sundays that I have off, I have to do other work outside of home. So I've really been kind of cut short on the amount of time that I have to work on these two projects, so it's probably going to be a lot more prolonged. I mean, of course, where I work, they're trying to get us out of working so much overtime on Saturdays, but I don't know how long that'll be. So anyway, so yeah, that does it for the Snowpiercer. So next weekend we'll probably cruise ship. So, seeing as how my work schedules kind of got screwed up, rather than doing the cruise ship on Saturday and Snowpiercer on Sundays, I might just have to take turns between the two every other weekend. We'll just see how that plays out, and just see how long or how much I can get done to each project throughout the week. Alright, I've been rambling on a bit too long, so you know how the typical outro goes. You take care, have yourself a nice day, and I'll see you whenever.